Yo, what's good guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to do another 15-minute fundamentals video, and today we're going to cover the concept of chain blocking, which I have to tell you is incredibly important when it comes to playing Yu-Gi-Oh well. It's not something that's straightforward. It's not just in the rule book. It's just actually strategy, and it's kind of a tool you can use to better your play. This comes up in most decks that are played, to be honest. Even if you don't realize it, like, there are a lot of decks where chain blocking actually applies, and it makes a difference every single time. So let's go ahead and get on into it. We're going to talk about what chain blocking is, when it comes up, how you can do it, and when you cannot chain block, and pretty much go over it all, hopefully in about 15 minutes. Okay, so first of all, what is chain blocking? A brief description is ordering your effects on a chain in such a way that your most important stuff or your most vulnerable stuff is not able to be negated by your opponent. Okay, and that sounds pretty valuable when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! You want to protect your important effects. You want to just offer up crappy effects. Hey, if you want to negate these, go ahead, but I'm going to make sure to resolve all of the ones that really matter. And if that sounds like something important to you, well, then you would be correct and you should keep watching. All right, so let's go ahead and check out what's going on here. So if you remember from last video, which is chain building, chains typically come out in this type of order. We have all of our mandatory triggers, we have all of our optional triggers, and then we have quick effects after that. Now, this is kind of a vertical breakdown. Let's go ahead and check out what it looks like in this way. So if we kind of just take those boxes and straighten them out into a chain, okay, this is our chain link. We have our trigger effects, and eventually the triggers are going to be over, and then we get into our quick effects over in the green. So we're going to go ahead and build our trigger effects part of the chain. We're going to put all of our effects in order. Say in this picture we have like 5 chain links, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then boom, our opponent is the first one that gets to respond with a quick effect. So once we are done putting our triggers, let's say our opponent doesn't have any triggers, let's keep it simple. We put our triggers on a chain, opponent gets to respond next with a quick effect. Cool. And then after that, all of the other quick effects go. But what we're really kind of concerned about is that first quick effect chain link, okay? If this quick effect is a negate, if our opponent wants to negate something about our trigger effects, okay, with a card that says, when your opponent does something, we'll give some examples, you can negate. When the text of the card is in that form, it can only negate the nearest chain link. Got it? So when the effect is in that form, like it is for Appaloosa, like it is for Barone, like it is for Borreload Savage, Ash Blossom, Ghost Spell, all of them have the text form. When your opponent activates an effect, or when your opponent activates a monster effect, or so forth, you can negate. All of these very popular cards, very common cards to see in the game, can only negate the nearest chain link. Okay? What does that mean? That means that nearest chain link is not safe. All right? They can negate whatever you put there. That also means that all of the previous ones, the one before the not safe one, are safe. They can't negate those, right? And if we recall from the chain building video, when multiple trigger effects go on the chain at the same time, you pick the order. So it seems pretty clear, if you pick the order and only that one chain link is not safe, put all of your most important stuff on the other chain links, right? Because then they can't be negated by cards like Appo or Barone or Borreload Savage, the ones with that kind of text. But we are going to put we have to put something on the closest chain link, right? So in that chain link, the last trigger, that's where your chain block is, right? It blocks the negates from reaching your more important stuff. And that's really the essentials of chain blocking. So we're gonna have a lot of examples here. But also, if your opponent has some kind of effects like this, like Yugioh, like Called by the Grave, Imperm Veiler, you cannot chain block those. Okay, because they don't care where on the chain their the effect activation is. They don't need to respond directly to anything. Okay, and all of these have the type of text you can negate instead of when your opponent X you can negate. So all of those you cannot chain block, right? So it doesn't matter where on the chain your effects go for these type of cards, for Chixiao, for Imperm, for Valor. You cannot chain block that type of effect. You can only chain block the Appos, the Barone, the Ash, the Bell. You can chain block those because of the type of text they have. Okay? So, yeah, that means all of your chains are not safe from these type of cards. But only the nearest chain link is not safe for stuff like Appo and Barone. Okay, now that we have the basics down, let's go through quite a few just common examples. And like I said, a lot of decks have situations that you can chain block, right? So let's think about a couple scenarios where we have a Barone on our opponent's field. Okay, let's start with Sword Soul. Okay, in Sword Soul, we have a very common event where we have two optional triggers going on the chain at the same time, synchroing away a Moyi and a token for a Chixiao. Okay, so in that scenario, Chixiao will activate on summon to search a Sword Soul card, and then the Moyi will activate to draw. If our opponent has a Barone, which order should we put our chain in? Okay, Barone negates and destroys, right? So which one do we not care if it gets negated and destroyed, right? The Moyi, because, well, first of all, it can't be destroyed because it's in the graveyard already. So that one won't matter. And the draw is not as powerful as the search, right? So we are going to want to chain block our Chixiao by putting Chixiao 1, Moyi 2, okay? And that means that the only thing that the Baron can negate is the Moyi. Or, you know, maybe they also have an Ash in hand. The only thing they can Ash is also the Moyi. And if they Baron negate the Moyi, who cares? Because we're going to still have a Chixiao on board. We're not going to lose that to destruction. We're still going to be able to search probably a blackout, right? So that is the better order. All right, new example. We branded Fusion for a Lubellion, the Searing Dragon, by sending Albaz and Tragedy, right? In this case, two things activate at the same time. Lubellion, discard to fuse, Tragedy to search. Okay? With Barone on board, it's probably more important to resolve that Lubellion. And it's kind of the same situation as the Moyi Chixiao, because we want our card on board to not be negated. We would rather have the Tragedy be negated, because then we won't actually lose a body off the field. So we're going to chain block our Lubellion, probably, in most cases, unless that Tragedy search is very important, then we're going to switch this, right? But we're going to chain block our Lubellion by going Lubellion 1, Tragedy 2, and that way the only thing Baron can negate is the Tragedy, and our Lubellion will resolve. Next example, Floowandereeze. This all the time. We have, let's say they have banished Eaglin and a banished Stree, and we normal summon Robina. 3 effects are going to activate here, potentially, right? We have Robina effect to search and summon, we have Eaglin effect to add back to hand, and we have Stree effect to add back to hand. Which of these is most important? Well, Robina probably to search and summon is going to be most important. And then, okay, which add back is more important? Right? Probably the Eaglin. So we're going to have to offer up one of these effects to be negated by Barone. Which one? Probably Stree, right? So we're going to go Robina 1, Eaglin 2, Stree 3. It does not matter if we go Eagle 1, Robina 2, Stree 3, but we are going to go ahead and do it in that order. So Stree is chainlink 3. It's the only thing Barone can negate, right? And let's do one more. We Chimera Fusion away our Gazelle and our Baphomet, Big Wing Baphomet, for a copy of Chimera King of Phantom Beasts, right? We have 3 things about to happen here. We have Chimera is going to activate to hand rip in the end phase. We're going to have Baphomet to summon back a Mirror Sword Knight from grave, and we're going to have a Gazelle effect to search an illusion monster. Our opponent has Barone on field, or they have Appaloosa on field, whatever, right? Which of those effects is probably least important? Gazelle. Like 90% of the time, Gazelle is least important. You probably already have illusions in your hand. You probably are going to be able to get them anyway, because that Baphomet is going to summon back a Mirror Sword Knight and it's going to replenish your hand anyway. And we kind of want that hand rip to resolve the end phase, right? So we're going to go ahead and chuck Gazelle in the Chain Link 3 spot, into the chain blocking slot. And then we're going to go ahead and put the Chimera and the Baphomet as 1 and 2. And those are going to be protected from the when X you can negate type of effects. Okay? But let's look at, let's do a different little thought experiment here. In a similar situation, but quite a bit different. On turn 1, let's say you're going first. Okay? Our opponent doesn't have a Barone on board or an Appaloosa on board. They just have a hand of 5 cards. Okay? We have to think about, okay, what effects could be in their hand that are chain blockable? The obvious ones come to mind are Ash Blossom and Ghost Bell, right? So when we have a situation where we're going to order our chain links here, we want to put something in that last slot that is not able to be hit by Ash or Bell. And that will allow all of our Ashable and Bellable targets to resolve properly. Okay, let's look at an example. We're playing Shaddolls this time, okay? And we go El Shaddoll Fusion with Shaddoll Falco and Shaddoll Wendy into a Shaddoll Apkalone. Great. What can our opponent use against Falco when we use the Falco effect? Well, Falco summons itself back out from grave, so they can use Bell against the Falco, right? Wendy, what does Wendy do? Wendy summons a Shaddoll from deck, right? They can use Ash against that. Apkalone, what it does is target a card on the field and negate its effects, right? Can they Bell or can they Ash the Apkalone? No, right? So what we're actually going to do, we're going to go Wendy and Falco as Chainlinks 1 and 2. And then we're going to chuck Apkalone in Chainlink 3. Apkalone targeting itself, okay? And this is a pristine example of a chain block, because the Apkalone effect to target itself and negate literally is not doing anything, right? It's kind of like, it's a placeholder. But by activating that Apkalone on the same chain as Chainlink 3, we are putting something as the last Chainlink that our opponent cannot Ash or Bell. Whereas if we just didn't do the Apkalone and we just moved everything over, Falco 1, Wendy 2, then boom, Ash is live. Right? And that's no good. Or if we did Wendy 1, Falco 2, then boom, Bell is live. And maybe we don't want their hand traps to be live. We want to just resolve all of our important effects. So we're going to go Wendy, Falco, then Apkalone, and we are chain blocking the Ash, or chain blocking the Bell, right? You have to think about which effects are most important. We're going to put those as anything but the last chain link. And then we're going to put whatever we care least about as the final chain link in the trigger effects section to be a chain block for the rest of your effects. And that's the essentials of chain blocking. And the more you think about it, the more like this might come up for your deck. It's relevant for Floowandereeze, Branded, Chimera, Plunder Patrol, Sword Soul, Kashtira, everything. Like there's so many effects, or there's so many scenarios in every single deck where multiple triggers are going to happen at once. Here's another one that's kind of generic. You link away a Bestial Druisworm and any other monster for a link monster that has an on-summon effect. Say Nightmare Unicorn, right? On-summon Nightmare Unicorn activates. On-summon also Bestial Druisworm is going to activate to send a special summon monster. If you really need to send that monster, Druisworm 1, Unicorn 2. Okay? Or let's say you link summon a monster that has an on-summon effect and you have Parallel Exceed in hand, right? You can go link monster Chainlink 1, Parallel Exceed Chainlink 2 to chain block that link monster's effect. And that way you're guaranteed to resolve that link monster's effect, or guaranteed to protect it from stuff like Ash, Bell, Barone, Appaloosa. Okay? And then, but remember, can't protect it from stuff like Valor or Imperm, just because that's just how it works. And, because the text of the card is that, because the text of the card says you can negate and not when your opponent X you can negate, it doesn't have to respond directly, so you can't chain block those. You're right. Doesn't matter where you put your Lubellion, doesn't matter where you put your Rabina effect, they can still imperm it. You can't chain block that, right? So I hope you guys got enough out of this video, this chain blocking video. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed it. Let me know what other concepts you're looking forward to seeing tutorials on. The next one's probably going to be missing the timing. I'll talk about what that means. Give a little some graphics to kind of illustrate it, and then I'll do some other ones. I'm still excited to hear what you guys are having trouble with when learning this game. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll do my best to kind of continue teaching and, you know, helping out, especially newer players or players that want a refresher on how these things work, trying to help you guys out. All right? Subscribe if you're enjoying. Leave a like. Catch you in the next one. We'll see you.